Hi, it's Andy Bark here from Rehab Room. For those that don't know me, I'm the current head of physiotherapy and rehab here at the Leeds Rhinos. And if you've not seen it, I'm currently launching a free three-part mini-series giving you the sort of first steps for a career working professional sport. And today is the first episode of that three-part series. And what we're going to talk about today is about breaking barriers. And really, the main thing I want to get across, or the real question we're going to try and answer, if you like, over these three series, this little mini series that I put together, is what are the barriers and what is stopping you from getting that dream job, working in professional sport. Episode 1 is all about breaking barriers. In particular, we want to identify what barriers are important for us to acknowledge and identify and sort of break down. There's certain barriers that we can't influence, and we don't want to worry too much about those, and we can sort of just discuss some of those. And ultimately some strategies really for some tips and tricks for you guys to be able to put into practice and actually make use and break down those barriers and pursue that job within professional sport. One of the big things that particularly new grads and those wanting to get in professional sport often speak about is experience, and being experienced being one of the big barriers to getting that elusive job, if you like, within professional sport. First and foremost, I think it's important to acknowledge that I think experience comes in two sort of factors, or two prongs, if you like. First of all, you've got educational experience and environmental experience. So for me, there's a big difference between the two, and they're vitally important when we're looking at what's in front of you in terms of trying to get you working in professional sport. So first up, that sort of educational experience, if you like, is in relation to sort of your academic background. So obviously this relates to your profession and particularly your level of study. So ultimately a PhD is ranked higher than a master's degree, which is ranked higher than a bachelor's degree. So depending on what field you're wanting to work within sport, whether that's medical, coaching, S&C, sports science, that obviously rings true for all those professions. I think the massive thing to acknowledge, particularly for new grads and those looking at the junior roles, is this educational experience is not always the be all and end all of you getting that job or not. Particularly when you're considering that you're going to be going for more junior level roles, and in the majority of cases, sports clubs and those that are employing new staff are not going to be looking for potentially PhD or necessarily master's level candidates for those entry level jobs. So the educational background and your educational accomplishments at that particular point are massively relative to the role you're applying for. Quite often, and the question that I get asked all the time, when people sort of contact me and other professionals that are in a similar position to myself, is, what do I need to do CPD wise? What do I need to do, university wise, study wise to get those jobs? And quite often at that particular time point, they don't need to pursue those things. Those are probably study concepts or study levels that they'll by all means complete in the future. But starting out in sport, I think the primary importance is to get your sort of foot in the door and get in there, get that experience, and some of those higher level qualifications and skills that you'll learn on those courses are something that you can put on the back burner to start with and obviously progress in the future. The biggest draw of being in sport, and one of the things that's fantastic, is often the clubs will help you with that sort of thing. So particularly in today's day and age where particularly university study is so expensive, a lot of clubs are aligned with local universities, and there's obviously options there and opportunities for funding to help you out. So that's obviously a massive plus of potentially getting to sport first and then looking at those high level qualifications to take you to the next step sort of later in your career. So I think it's massively important that when you're coming into those junior roles, that you don't model yourself necessarily on who might be the head physio or head S&C or whoever it may be at that particular club at the time. You don't need to model your CV, if you're coming in at that entry level, to someone who's obviously been qualified 10 years. That's not what we're after. So if we're looking at employing someone at those entry levels, we're not going to model you on ourselves or people of a sort of similar sort of experience and background. We've been qualified, say, a long time, and I wouldn't expect an academy physio or necessarily a junior assistant first team physio to have PhD, masters, and all these sort of qualifications behind them. So I think it's massively important that you understand, as particularly as a new grad and going for those junior and entry level jobs, that first up, you don't need to model yourself on more experienced professionals. Consider that getting into sport should be your priority, and secondly, obviously the clubs can then potentially help you with funding. Secondly, in relation to sort of environmental experience, this is really talking about the experience you've got really working in a sports field. And I think it's a massive myth for those wanting to get into sport that you need, you know, professional sports setting experience to get a job in professional sport, and that's definitely sort of not the case. So what I mean by that, I think as a, you know, whether you're still studying, whether you're a new grad particularly, you know, it's really difficult to get opportunities within professional sport. I'm talking whether that's a, you know, placement during study, whether that's a shadowing experience if you're qualified member of staff. You know, it's quite hard to get your, you know, foot in the door in a professional club for, you know, to see what goes on, and you know, it's quite a close-knit group, and a lot of stuff obviously is kept private for obvious reasons. So letting people from the outside into those environments is not something we commonly do, you know, day to day, week to week. So getting that experience in a professional setting is often very, very difficult. And I think there's a massive myth going around that you need this experience to have any chance of sort of getting professional sport, and it's definitely not the case. I think a big mistake that a lot of people make is trying to almost get a badge, and I've spoke about this previously. And when I talk about in terms of getting a badge, I think some aspiring professionals will look at sort of trying to get into as many sports clubs as possible, so they can write a letter application and a CV that can list, you know, a plethora of clubs where they've been to and experienced. And while that might look good on paper, it's often not got a lot of substance to it. So I think from a learning point of view, you're probably going to pick up more, you know, working with one professional or, you know, a few professionals at a particular club, rather than working at 8, 9, 10 clubs and spending a day here, a day there, a day everywhere. So that continuity of being in one environment, you know, whether that's from a rehab point of view, whether you're programming from an S&C point of view, or, you know, looking at that and being there over a longer period of time, you're probably going to pick up more stuff than, you know, being here day to day, you know, a day there, day there, a day there, at all different sort of, you know, several different clubs. So going back to sort of the myth of, you know, getting that experience from professional sport, you know, it's not necessary. So if we're looking again at junior and entry level jobs, we don't expect you to have a massive list, a scroll of professional clubs that you've sort of been there and worked before. If you have, that's fantastic. If you've not, you know, it's not something I think you need to massively sort of worry about. And I think what we're looking for, particularly for those entry level and junior jobs, is that you've been proactive, you've shown there's a bit about you, and you've gone out to sort of get experience, you know, whether that's at an amateur level, semi-professional level, or potentially professional level. I don't think the level of competition is that important. I think it's just the process that you've gone through to go out of your way, show a bit about yourself, and, you know, to get that experience which will look good on anyone's CV, whether that's amateur, semi-pro or professional. So don't get bogged down with thinking you need professional sports experience to get a job in professional sport. Is that the ideal? Most probably, but it's not the be all and end all, and it's a massive myth that you solely need professional sports experience to get about a job. Experience being a, you know, potential barrier, and one that's brought up quite often in the conversations that I have with aspiring professionals wanting to get into sport. There's also some other sort of barriers to consider, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. You know, there could be 10, 20, 30 different things that, you know, are stopping you at the moment from, you know, pursuing that job within professional sport. But some of the main ones probably relate to a lack of jobs. So if you consider, you know, the main sports within this country, you know, there's not a whole lot of jobs around, whether that's working with a, you know, first team or academy. It's not like probably the opportunities that are within, you know, private practice or say in healthcare and the NHS and, you know, avenues like that. There's not a whole lot of jobs, you know, working in sport, and there's a whole lot of people that want to sort of work in that arena. So it's obviously a very competitive field, and obviously that means we have to sort of go about it the right way, and obviously do our best to stand out, you know, to give ourselves the best opportunity, you know, to get those jobs within sport. Equally, there's not a lot of movement often within professionals that are already working in sport. So quite often a professional may move from, you know, from club to club, but obviously that doesn't really open up any sort of new opportunities, if you like, for new professionals obviously wanting to enter the field of professional sport. And also location's quite a big one. So depending on your own, you know, personal circumstances, you know, you may have, you know, limitations to where you want to sort of travel, whether that's, you know, nationally or internationally, which may obviously limit the amount of jobs you've sort of got available to yourself. So those are three, you know, obviously I'm not talking an exhaustive list here, but there are, you know, three key, you know, other barriers that potentially stand in your way, you know, obviously additional to experience that we spoke about previously, you know, stopping you, you know, getting in your way, if you like, you know, to that job. Additional to that, obviously we've got to also consider, you know, other barriers that are in front of us, and one of the sort of big ones I think is our sort of previous, you know, education. And what I mean by that is, you know, whether you've studied, you know, a more you know, conventional, you know, experience-based profession-wise, or you've come through sort of an academic background, whether that's through, you know, sort of school, college, university, you know, those sort of courses. And, you know, my education as coming through as a physio definitely didn't prepare us for coming out of education and actually, you know, applying for jobs. So in terms of actually being prepared to go out in the workplace and, you know, write a letter of application, write a CV, how to conduct an interview, what to expect from, you know, an interview. These are not things that we're taught, and these are often the biggest barriers really, and these are the things that quite often, you know, aspiring sports professionals fall down on. And you know, being involved now in sport, and you have been involved in the things like reading CVs and applications and being on interview panels for jobs, you see people fall at these hurdles, and it's basically due to a lack of preparation for those processes. So I think we are underdone, you know, in our training, whether that, you know, whatever background that may be, but particularly from an academic point of view, we're not given that substance, if you like. So we might have the qualification, you've come out with a degree or whatever it may be to get that job, if you like, within sport like you want to pursue, but we're not set up, and we haven't got those skills to go out there and to write a sort of knockout CV, to be able to go into an interview or in front of a host of, you know, other sports professionals and give that interview of our life, to be able to give us that best opportunity to get that job that we really want. So I think we are massively underdone by our, you know, our previous education and experiences, and that is in the main why I put this sort of mini series together, and why I put together the Foot in the Door programme. So I'll discuss a bit more about the Foot in the Door programme a little bit later in this episode, but in essence that is aimed at giving you the sort of skills, the confidence, the knowledge and the substance to be able to, you know, to get your foot in the door and to get your... What I want to make clear is that, you know, some of these barriers we spoke about are things that we can sort of not be really too concerned about. So some of the barriers I spoke about there, in terms of, you know, location, lack of jobs, lack of movement of existing staff, are things that we can't really control. So they're barriers to entry, yes, but they're barriers that we can't really influence. So we need to really not spend our time and worry about those particular barriers. But the things about, like, sort of preparing ourselves in terms of, you know, giving ourselves the best chance of getting those jobs, whether that's putting together a sort of knockout CV, knowing what to expect in an interview, and those sort of things are things that we can prep for. And, you know, I think in sort of using a logical and systematic approach, we can go about those processes, you know, in a logical and systematic way, to ensure that we leave no stone unturned. So when it comes to the crunch, you know, we have got the substance to be able to put your sort of best foot forward, and give your potential employers, you know, the chance to know everything about you, and put yourself, you know, in the frame for that job. So we're getting towards the end of episode 1, and what I want to sort of leave you with really is a little tip, really, basically. We spoke about some of the barriers, and some of the barriers that we can sort of be disconcerted with, and some of the barriers that obviously need our attention in particular. Obviously we can prep and be prepared for, you know, whatever we're going to get thrown at us, and so we are best prepared for when we are, you know, applying for those jobs in professional sport. One of the biggest things that I see people do poorly is actually making, you know, that initial contact with a professional within sport. So whether they're looking for, you know, experience, you know, to, you know, look at, you know, whether that's a shadowing experience, whether that's even a student placement when those, you know, those people are still studying, or whether that's a job, you know, the sort of approaches that are made sometimes very poor. So to put in sort of context, if you were sort of going out on a date, you're meeting someone, a boy or a girl, and you're going out on your first date, you know, the emails that sort of we get are, you know, my name's so-and-so and so-and-so, I'm either a graduate or I'm still studying at this university, I'm looking at getting into sport, please give me a job. So that's almost like going on that first date, and going from, you know, first date to getting married within 24 hours, which is obviously going from, you know, 0 to 100 mile an hour, obviously very quickly. So I think the process to improve on that is basically using your some research to put together a a structured, a logical and systematic actual approach to, in essence, get what you want. So biggest tip for me, in episode number 1 is never ask for a job, at least, not initially. So I would say an email, exchange of maybe 5-6 emails is warranted before you would even ask for anything, and that's not just a job, that's a sort of shadowing experience, that's, any sort of work experience or ultimately a job potentially. So, you need to build up some sort of rapport and conversation with that person if you are to sort of maximise or increase the chances of that person actually giving you that opportunity. It's very easy for us working in sport to, to see an email that's, was the example that I used, my name's this, I'm studying there, please give me a placement, or my name's this, I have some experience working at this club, please give me a job. It's very easy for us in that essence, if that's the first email, we know nothing about you, to sort of point blank refuse and say no. Whereas if you are able to build up a bit of conversation, build a rapport, we can probably even see that, reading between the lines and reading emails, we get an idea of sort of what you're about, your knowledge base, the sort of stuff you're interested with, and the sort of stuff you probably read, and you've gone out of your way, you've been quite proactive to look into some of the maybe subjects that us as professionals are interested in, and obviously you've done your research to put together a real good initial approach which sparks some interest from us in you, and obviously down the track, if we're able to exchange emails, build rapport and knowledge, then when it comes to the crunch and you actually ask for that opportunity, whatever it may be, you're much more likely to get it. It's all going to be about doing your research and how we can actually use your research, in particular, researching the individual you're contacting, and also the organisation or the club that you're contacting, and the information that we can actually use to put together a real good initial approach, which actually helps to spark that initial interest from us and to give you the best chance of getting that opportunity, whatever it may be in the future. So I hope you really enjoyed episode 1. Any questions, please contact me, andy@rehabroom.co.uk, or please visit rehabroom.co.uk. There's plenty of material up there, both clinical and non-clinical like this, which hopefully you'll find of interest. Like I say, hopefully you've really enjoyed it, and please join me in episode 2, which will be launched very soon, which we're going to be looking at doing your research and putting together that knockout sort of initial approach, and using the logical and systematic approach that I've put together as part of the Foot in the Door programme to be able to maximise and to help as many people as I can to get into professional sport. It's a fantastic arena to work, and I obviously want to help and facilitate as many people as possible, as many aspiring sports professionals as I can to sort of follow the path that I have and various others have into professional sport in what is such a fantastic career, and anything I can do to help you out will obviously be fantastic. And like I say, any questions, any queries, don't hesitate to get into contact, and I'll speak to you all soon.